From almost becoming the world's #1 golfer to now free-falling down the rankings, Cameron Smith's career has derailed massively over the past year. And people say it's Greg Norman's fault. Now, it's not like Smith has lost his mojo or anything like that. Nope, instead the only reason why his career has been quote-unquote ruined is that, well, he joined Live Golf. You see, before he joined the Breakaway Golf League, the Aussie was well on his way to reaching the world #1 rank. As a matter of fact, he probably would have been at #1 instead of Scottie Scheffler, if he'd still been on the PGA Tour. After all, Live Golf just doesn't have any sort of approval from the OWGR. So every single Saudi League event Smith competes in, he's earning 0 ranking points. And that's where the problem lies. Live Golf and Greg Norman have failed him. Seriously, he was supposed to be their star player, and they've failed to do justice to the insane amount of talent he's got. I mean, the dude has so much potential and was a surefire bet to be the #1. And now, he couldn't even defend his own Players' Championship title. Not to mention, he's at #5 in the rankings right now, but could soon find himself out of the top 10 if this whole thing continues. Wait a sec, though.
That one was nice. I played the Pro V1X.
How did Norman ruin his career? Isn't Smith a grown-up pro who's capable of making his own career decisions? So, where does this idea of the Live CEO somehow manipulating come from? Well, golf analyst Brandel Chambly is the one who came up with it. Speaking with the Golf Channel, he talked about how it's kind of ironic that an Aussie is keeping another Aussie from becoming the greatest player from the country. And to be fair, with the momentum he had before joining Live, Smith could have easily gone on to overtake the likes of Peter Thompson and Greg Norman within the next few years. So in a way, he has made a mistake by relying on the Live CEO and buying into his ideas. Now, whether you agree with Chambly or not is another question. But hey, he's actually got a point here. I mean, sure, Smith must have weighed his options before joining and probably knew what he was getting into. Besides, getting a $100 million deal doesn't sound too shabby either. That said, it's the fact that Norman hasn't fulfilled his promises that sorta makes the whole thing tricky. After all, even if you go 8 months back in time, the 68-year-old was still trying very hard to secure OWGR approval for his league, and I'm pretty sure he promised his players that as well while presenting the contract. But now the chances of that ever happening continue to dwindle with every passing week. Plus, it looks like Norman's kinda burning bridges with the OWGR too. You know, with all the comments he's made about them being out of touch and how they need to grow up, yeah, you tell him, Greg. That's definitely gonna make them want to collaborate with you. You've gotta wonder though, could Smith have actually become world #1, or are these claims just wishful thinking? Well, he certainly had the ability to get there, sure. He wasn't the most dominant golfer in the world, but he was still on a run that's not too different from the current world #1 Scottie Scheffler. What's more, Chambly genuinely believes he had the potential to win multiple majors over the next 5 or so years, and to back up his claims, he gave the example of Tom Watson. Now, if you didn't know, Watson also had a similar career trajectory because as soon as he turned 25, something kicked in and he started winning like there was no tomorrow. Seriously, the dude won like 5 tournaments every single year. And when you look at the way Smith had been performing on the PGA Tour over the past couple of years, he could have very well followed suit as well. Oh, and it's not just some outlandish prediction either. After all, Smith has always been a scrambler and has one of the best short games in the sport. And even though that can sometimes make him unpredictable as he frequently goes for chip-ins and super long putts, it also means that he's capable of doing some incredible things on the golf course, especially around the green, which of course is why he had the potential to be up there with the very best. Though to be fair, it's not all doom and gloom for Smith yet. After all, he's still competing in all 4 major tournaments. I mean, despite the fact that he won't be earning ranking points and such on the PGA Tour anymore, he's still appearing in all 4 majors, right? Not to mention, even if he slips out of the top 50, he'll still have access to some of these tournaments for many years thanks to his previous achievements. So for all intents and purposes, he could still go on to achieve great things and become an all-time legend of the sport. Now, there is a small issue here as well, because you see, competing for a major isn't as simple as just turning up and destroying your opposition. Nope, it takes a lot of hard work and momentum building to actually have a realistic chance of winning. Take the Masters, for example. Usually, players come in after having played some other PGA Tour tournament like the Players' Championship and the Texas Open. Smith, on the other hand, will be coming in after a LIV Golf event in Orlando, which, let's be fair for a second, is not even close to being as competitive as some of these other events. So yeah, it's gonna be tricky for him. But hey, never say never, right? That said, Smith's own attitude about his career trajectory doesn't exactly spell confidence, because he feels hurt by his world ranking status. And honestly, it could be pretty damaging for his chances at the Masters as well. I mean, when you're on top of the world and heading toward that #1 spot, it instills a different kind of confidence in you.
This has a good chance. Straight out the gates. I felt really good going into the week.
Now that Smith's ranking is in free fall, however, well, it's not great, is it? He says that he's tried to take it not too badly. After all, when you're aiming for a tournament, you just look at the players you've got to beat, and world rankings and all that stuff goes to the back burner. Yeah, tell that to Jon Rahm. At the same time, though, the Aussie didn't shy away from the fact that he feels hurt by his status. You know, the whole so close yet so far thing. That said, he did claim that the longer this whole OWGR saga continues, the easier it'd be for people to just simply dismiss these rankings as obsolete. Oh, and Smith isn't the only one who thinks this. Greg Norman's been critical of the OWGR as well. I mean, anyone could have guessed that one. But again, that dude's got a point, because for him, the fact that the rankings authority can simply ignore the best golfers in the world is wild. He said that LIV has given the sport a heartbeat, and everyone on its roster, including Smith, is very happy. So the OWGR should listen to the fans and hold itself accountable, because otherwise, they run the risk of becoming irrelevant. Oh, and as I've already mentioned, Norman also claimed back in October that the rankings body just hates LIV Golf and needs to grow up. Now, he may not be the most diplomatic dude out there, but he's right, no? Like, sure, there's a lot that's on the line when it comes to rankings. You know, getting into majors and all that. At the same time, LIV's field is strong and deep enough to warrant rankings. Because without people like Dustin Johnson and Cameron Smith, the whole system just falls apart. And that, folks, was all for claims that Greg Norman has ruined Cameron Smith's career.